Hello, everybody, and welcome to Walking Between Shadows. I'm Taryn Elliott, and along with me is my amazing husband.
I'm Ben Elliott.
And we're here to talk about true crime all the time.
Hey, Taryn.
Hey, Ben.
I understand you have a new episode ready for us on Walking Between Shadows.
I do.
It sounds like this might be a pretty interesting one.
It is. I've been following this for the past 3 years, and it's getting ready to go to trial, so I'm ready to talk about it.
Right, so get everybody together, get your drinks together, sit back, relax, light it up,
Put your pajama pants on.
and let's get into it.
Let's do it. We're covering the case of Gannon Stauch today. And this case is a long one, and it's got to listen close because there's a crazy character in it. We're going to talk about it.
Okay.
Gannon was an 11-year-old little boy. He was born in South Carolina in 2008 to his parents. Mom was Landon Hyatt, and his dad is Al Stauch. But at the time of this incident, which happened in 2020, he was living with his stepmother, Letecia Stauch, his father, Al Stauch, his younger sister, Lana Stauch, and stepsister, Harley Hunt. And she was a teenager. I believe Harley was 17 at the time, and his little sister was very young, 8, maybe 7, 8. His dad was in the National Guard and was out of town the weekend of January the 27th, which actually was a Monday. So he was out of town that Friday through that Tuesday. On January 27th, 2020, his stepmother, Gannon's stepmother, Letecia Stauch, reported him missing around 6 p.m. She stated to the police that Gannon went to an unknown friend's house around 3 o'clock and he was supposed to be home around 5. She became worried when he didn't show up by 6 o'clock. So Gannon was first reported as a runaway. Very soon after, Letecia's story started to change dramatically. And on January the 29th of 2020, just 2 days later, T goes for an interview. We're going to call her T. She goes in for an interview with the police because it's been 2 days now and nobody has seen Gannon. She goes in around noon, which is 2 hours late. So she didn't seem very concerned, but she arrives with tons of paperwork. She has like these notes for the detectives, a bunch of weird shit. And her SUV was still wet from being cleaned. So that right there throws up some suspicious flags for, the detectives. The detectives asked T to walk them through the day that Gannon went missing, which was Monday. This is when T's story starts to change dramatically from her statement on Monday. T begins to say that a man by the name of Eduardo came over to fix the carpet where Gannon had turned over a candle on Sunday and had damaged the carpet. T claimed she gave Eduardo the garage code and he must have broken into the house earlier in the day when they weren't there. He raped her and then abducted Gannon. T claims Eduardo was raping her between the hours of 3:30 and 4:30 p.m. and that Gannon jumped on his back trying to save her. Eduardo threw Gannon against the wall, held her at gunpoint, and demanded a box and a suitcase. Yeah, just for a minute, what do you got to say about that?
That's so random.
These detectives are thinking, why didn't you tell us this Monday when you reported him missing?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the investigators then offer a rape kit to Letecia, but she declines, which is suspicious. At the end of the interview, detectives ask for T's phone, so she fakes a panic attack, goes to the hospital, but the cops seize her vehicle anyway, and they take her phone. She ends up vamping from the hospital, just gone. Detectives knew then that she was hiding important information that had to do with Gannon's disappearance. And she becomes the #1 suspect at this time. January 30th, Gannon's classification is changed from runaway to endangered and missing child. Authorities put in so many hours. They were searching for Gannon everywhere. I remember this. There were search parties everywhere, flyers everywhere, podcasters doing stuff, putting out information. Everybody from the community, too, was coming in. And, Colorado Springs, I was up there living around this time. And I can remember, the community coming together and really looking for him, except for Letecia. She did not look at all. Between January 30th and February 3rd, she is really nowhere to be found. She is making herself as unseen and unheard as possible. But on February the 3rd, Letecia shows up and does this really strange interview with this news guy,
Like a local newscaster?
Yeah. And in the video, you can see she just is addressing social media and saying, I'm not guilty. Her main concern was proving that she wasn't guilty of anything instead of, where's Gannon? Where's Gannon? So, it's strange. On February the 4th, a neighbor of Letecia and Al has a video. You know how we have the cameras outside the house where you can see what's going on? Well, he had one. He shows this to Gannon's dad. And in the video, Gannon leaves with Letecia, but doesn't come back on that Monday. And Al breaks down after seeing the video and says she lied. She lied about everything. He never went to a friend's house. So he's starting to get very worried, of course. Like he wasn't already, but then you think your wife,
Yeah.
So at this point, Al is freaking out. And he knows something terrible has happened. On February the 5th, Gannon's biological mother, Landon, and his dad and sister do an on-camera plea for Gannon. During February the 5th through February the 16th, there was 550 tips from everywhere that were collected by detectives. And 3 weeks after the disappearance, the cops released the unsealed affidavit.
So his biological mother, was she living in Colorado Springs too?
She was not.
She was still in North Carolina?
South Carolina.
Or South, okay.
Right. So there's this unsealed affidavit this time, by February 16th, but it's not really, they haven't opened it yet. But on March the 2nd, Letecia is arrested in South Carolina, held without bond, and extradited back to Colorado. Although Gannon hasn't been found yet, T was arrested on all the evidence that I'm about to talk about in this unsealed affidavit. March the 11th, Letecia makes court appearance. March the 20th, nearly 2 months since Gannon's disappearance, authorities announced that they had found Gannon's body.
Cover with the response to the coronavirus. First, though, we have breaking news in the search for an 11-year-old Colorado Springs boy missing since the end of January.
And it's certainly not the update anyone wanted. Today, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office announced remains found in Florida have tentatively been identified as those of Gannon Stauch. Denver 7's Lance Hernandez is live. Lance, the family's not speaking publicly, but Gannon's stepmother already facing murder charges. Now she's looking at additional charges.
We were told today that an additional first-degree murder charge was filed against Letecia Stauch today, as were 8 crime of violence counts alleging the use of a firearm, a blunt instrument, and a knife or sharp instrument. The 11-year-old's body was found near this bridge, the Highway 90 bridge over the Escambia River near Pensacola, Florida. It was a road construction worker who found the remains Tuesday. Investigators aren't releasing any details about how the boy died. They say he was killed in Colorado and then taken to Florida. I asked how finding a body can help with an investigation. Senior District Deputy District Attorney Michael Allen said there's generally evidence on a body. He wouldn't go into specifics about the case, but did say Gannon's family is taking things very hard.
Obviously, they're distraught with this information. They were still holding out hope that Gannon would come home alive despite the original charges that we filed in this case. And they're struggling, and they rightfully would be, considering the circumstance of this case. It's tragic, and we, like I said at the beginning, our hearts go out to them.
Now, we asked if anyone else might have been involved. Investigators not answering that question. They are asking anyone who may have seen Letecia Stauch in either Pace or Pensacola, Florida on February 2nd through the 5th to go ahead and contact the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. We know that Letecia is due back in court on April 14th at 3 p.m. In Colorado Springs, Lance Hernandez, Denver 7.
Yeah, that is certainly heartbreaking, Lance. Thank you.
But it was not in Colorado Springs where he went missing. It was in Pace, Florida. But they found him under a bridge in a suitcase. And, everybody's wondering, how did Gannon get all the way to Florida from Colorado Springs?
Mm-hmm.
And this is when the investigation really kicks off. So now it's early April, and the unsealed affidavit was opened, and it outlined what the authorities believe truly happened to Gannon. During investigations, they found significant amounts of blood in Gannon's room, GPS data that showed where T put Gannon's body. She moved it several times too, and it showed possible motive, and the motive was that she was unhappy at home. Her internet browser showed multiple searches confirming that. From January 25th to January 28th, some of her Google searches were these: I feel like a nanny and not a stepmom. My husband uses me to babysit his kids. Find me a new husband book. Any free money to move from bad situation. My husband never posts about me but does everything else. My husband only cleans up for the army, not me. I'm a glorified babysitter. Find me a new husband. My husband ignores my sex messages. Make my husband want me more.
And these were all Google searches.
And that was the 25th to the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
The 27th is when Gannon was reported missing by her. So, let's move on to the Google searches. Some that she tried to delete but couldn't, it was unsuccessful, was find military singles. Parenting should be 4 people, not 1. Bio mom doesn't help. Mom advice from a stepmom. She really thought a lot of herself. But anyway, if you aren't involved in your kid's life, you are shitty. My husband's ex-wife does nothing for her kids. And that was something she tried to delete. Her cell phone was seized, Mm-hmm. And from the seized cell phone, on January 27th, T told work, so she was working, let me say this real quick. She was working for a school. She was like a teacher assistant or something. So on the 27th, the day that Gannon went missing, T called into work and told them her stepdad was hit by a car and she couldn't be there that day.
Good Lord.
She had called Gannon in sick that day as well and told Al that he had a stomach ache. T took a picture of Gannon that morning that was strange. He was in his bed, but the covers were pulled up. And I believe she posted that picture around 10:15 a.m. Maybe on Facebook or sent it to his dad, Al.
Do you think he was dead?
No, I do not think he was dead yet. I think he was injured. There was an incident with the carpet. We talked about that earlier. And there was a short video. I can't find it now. I'm sure that it will be brought up in court of her kind of scolding him for dropping a candle on the floor. But that was Sunday night. Monday, I don't know. It's hard to tell. The reason why I do not think that is because of the video that the neighbor had.
Mm-hmm.
Gannon was seen leaving the house with her around 10:30 that morning, but he never came back. All right, so
it's likely he was just asleep.
and hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And hurt.
Mm-hmm.
T leaves her cell phone at the house from 9:56, which is strange because she had a picture of Gannon at 10 something. Don't know. Maybe that could be off. But she leaves her cell phone at the house from 9:56 a.m. to 2:45 p.m. And from Gannon's phone, we think it was probably her. She texts Harley, her daughter, and says, T left her phone at home. If you need her, text me. I guess she was acting like Gannon.
Mm-hmm.
At 11:22 p.m., she is at Petco, and Gannon is not seen with her. At 11:22 to 1:22, T's whereabouts are unknown. 1:22, T makes another purchase at a different Petco. And it seems like she's trying to build her alibi at this time. So at 1:43 p.m., Gannon's phone searches, can my parents find my cell phone if it's off? Detectives believe T was using Gannon's phone at this time too. At 2:19 p.m., vehicle returns to the house, and at what appears to be T gets out without Gannon, but some people say he was. She says he was with her, but the video from the neighbors does not show him there.
Mm-hmm.
Motion detectors show no movement in the house from 10:16 a.m. to 2:19 p.m. At 2:22 p.m., T enters the home, with or without Gannon. 3:15 is the last time T claims to see Gannon. Lena soon returns home from school, and T tells her to go play out in the yard, that Gannon is asleep in her bed and doesn't need to be woke up. So she goes out in the front yard and plays, and detectives believe she was cleaning up the crime scene at this time. And that's his little baby sister. You know, she comes home from school, where's Gannon? He's in the bed. So she goes outside. At 3:55 p.m., Gannon's phone receives a text message from his dad. Hey, buddy, which goes unopened until 7:40 p.m. 4:42 p.m., T's daughter, Harley, arrives home from work, picks up Lena, and goes to run errands for her mother. At 5:14 p.m., Harley purchases trash bags, baking soda, and vinegar at the dollar store. And the reason detectives believe Gannon was murdered is because on February 3rd, while searching Gannon's house, they found massive amounts of blood in his room, hallway to his room, and multiple areas of the house and garage. At 6:55 p.m., T calls and reports Gannon missing. At 10 p.m., detectives are interviewing everyone at the house and notice a huge change in Gannon's room since he was reported missing at 6:55. His bed sheets were missing and replaced, and his bed was moved up against the wall a little bit more. T picks Al up on January 28th. So that's the day after she reports Gannon missing. T picks up Al from the airport. Remember, he was out of town.
Gannon's dad, yeah.
Yeah, he was out of town. So she goes and picks him up in a rental car. And she tells him the reason why she has this rental car is because she's been out looking for Gannon. And if he sees her car and he's a runaway, he's going to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like Al was probably in shock and just went with it. So at 8:48, T texts her daughter Harley and tells her to move her car up in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
At 4:04, investigators ask Letecia for Gannon's toothbrush for DNA. At 4:19, T texts Al and says, they're asking for our son's toothbrush, but they're not saying why. I know something's wrong. Something isn't right. I think they're hiding something.
Mm-hmm.
And Al texts back and says, who, the police? And T responds, yes. And he says, what do you think they're hiding? You know, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So at 7 p.m., T picks up her Volkswagen SUV from the airport. Remember, she'd gotten the rental.
The rental, yeah.
Weird. So at 8:30 to 10:20 p.m., Volkswagen data shows T in the location of Highway 105 and Perry Parkway Road in Douglas County, Colorado. From 9:16 to 9:20 p.m., GPS data shows T's vehicle driving in a rural area outside of Douglas County. At 10:45 p.m., T texts investigators, "What do you want from me? One of your very own leaked it to me. I'm being set up. I was told that I couldn't go home to sleep, and on top of that, men were sent to my home with my minor female daughter. She was forced to stay there to not even have good." And nobody knows what good means, maybe food, I don't know. That was her text. Detectives respond to this text by saying, "Just come in tomorrow morning and talk to us. We need to find out where Gannon's at."
Mm-hmm.
So, January the 28th, between 7:02 p.m. until after midnight, detectives believe T was hiding Gannon's remains. Wednesday, January the 29th, T was 2 hours late for her appointment with the detectives. Remember? She was supposed to be that morning, but she didn't come in until 12 o'clock. So where was she during that time? At 9 a.m., drops off her rental, and Harley picks her up from the car rental at 11:30 p.m. Surveillance cameras pick up T's car at a car wash with potential blood on the bumper. So at 12 o'clock, T's late for her interview, and her car's wet, and they seize her vehicle and her phone at that time. And that's when she faked the panic attack, goes to the hospital and bounce, and she rents the Altima. But the cops already knew she was a suspect, so they slap a GPS on the Altima. So during the initial search of Gannon's home, investigators found carpet brushes in the dishwasher with carpet fibers on them. Even though the dishwasher had already been run, there was still evidence on those brushes.
Mm-hmm.
And they located an empty gallon of vinegar. Now let's talk about the GPS tracker the detectives set up on her Altima.
Now, this was another rental car, right?
Yeah, this was the one that she got taken from her whenever they seized her vehicle, when she came in for her interview. 2 hours late. On Friday, January 31st, between 4:16 and 5:13 p.m., Letecia is back in Douglas County in this Altima. Detectives first believed T went back to see if Gannon's remains could be seen from the road, but now know that T went back to get his remains and put them in her vehicle. On January 31st, T gives that bizarre interview where she's wanting people to feel sorry for her, and she didn't do anything. She wants an apology. And I believe his body was in her vehicle at that time.
Mm-hmm.
While she was on TV,
Yep.
right beside, parked right at the curb of that house. That makes me sick. Also, her daughter was in the car with her too. Her 17-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go on and say this. They do not believe Harley knew anything at all. She was a kid, and nobody needs to attack her daughter, Leticia's daughter, because she did not know. After the bizarre interview, she goes on this road trip, and she is suspected to be heading to her family's in South Carolina, but she goes on a detour through Florida. This whole time, she believes law enforcement thinks she's still in Colorado. February 1st, while T is out running the roads, detectives find blood on the rear passenger seat and areas near the glove box in T's seized vehicle. And as I said before, blood was found in multiple areas of the home, but the most was in Gannon's room. Blood was found seeping through the carpet to the concrete, staining the concrete. So this is a lot of blood. Blood spatter and stains were located on the wall of Gannon's bedroom. Experts say that the blood spatter and stains were consistent with a gunshot wound, blunt force trauma, and or a stabbing. Blood stains around electrical outlets beside Gannon's bed were present as well, and blood was located on Gannon's mattress. On February 13th, detectives started monitoring Al and Leticia's phone calls. Al knew that the calls were being monitored, but he was trying to get as much information from Letecia as he could get. T began changing her story over and over to Al, once claiming Gannon was burned by the candle until his skin bubbled, and he peeled off the skin and bled and wiped it all over the walls. That was one of her stories. I mean, this is an 11-year-old kid. Come on. Al never even asked about the blood, because she wasn't aware that there was an investigation going on. She was getting rid of his body and stuff. she just wanted to make up all these reasons to get she thought she was getting ahead of the detectives.
Mm-hmm.
On February the 14th, calls continued to Al. Stories change again. She says she was raped by Quincy Brown. Before it was Eduardo that was coming to fix the carpet.
Mm-hmm.
She says she knew it was Quincy Brown because his ID fell out of his pocket. She says Quincy followed her from PetSmart on January 27th and at one point laid in the road so that T would stop, and then Quincy jumped in her car, went with her to their home, raped her. But see, first of all, she saw Quincy Brown's picture on America's Most Wanted. So she added that in there.
Mm-hmm.
But he raped her, and then later on that day, Gannon was riding his bike in El Paso. He fell over and hit his head, and then was abducted by the same man that broke in their house and raped her earlier, Quincy Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And Quincy was being driven by a man named Terrence. This is not even it. I mean, there's more. There's a major twist at the end, but here in a minute.
Yeah.
On February the 16th, T speaks with her friend Tara, and she tells Tara that she's given Al false statements because he wouldn't believe anything anyway that she had to say. On February 17th, the next day, she thinks everyone still believes she's in Colorado, but she tells her friend Laura around 1 o'clock p.m. that she's thinking about flying to Colorado to take a lie detector test to prove her innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, they think I'm still in Colorado. So she had no idea they were tracking her. At 4:11 p.m., she tells another female friend she's going to take a lie detector test, but it's not admissible in court, and the law enforcement would just decredit her anyway.
Right.
So on Tuesday, February the 18th, she contacts someone at fakepolygraph.com and states she never received her results that she paid for on their website. The employee said he would follow up with her with an email. An hour later, she calls back to the fakepolygraph.com and says she never received that email. The employee states to T that her report has been blocked by management due to the questions she outlined. I mean, this site is probably for cheaters, like did you cheat on your girlfriend or something, you know. Not for, active investigations where a child has been disappeared.
Murder suspects. Yeah.
So T says, what do I do now? You just going to delete it and keep my money? And to which the employee says, yes, we do indeed. T says, okay, well, gotcha, goodbye. Yeah, she's strange.
Mm-hmm.
So detectives get a copy of this fakepolygraph.com and its questions. And the first question is, did you intend to answer these questions truthfully regarding your stepson? And she says yes. And the second question is your birthday August the 4th of 1983? Yes. Did you participate in any way in harming your stepson? No. The next question is, did your stepson return home with you to your house that day? Yes. And the last one is, did you participate in any way in causing the death of your stepson? No. Okay, wow. That's just, how did she not think that?
Yeah, these people have probably a duty or a disclaimer even that if something this bad is going on, they're probably going to report it, and obviously they're not going to help her. So.
Oh, I don't know. On February the 28th, the judge signs T's arrest warrant. On March the 2nd, Letecia is arrested in South Carolina and being charged with 13 felonies. On June the 4th, T is charged with solicitation. This is where the twist is, because let me tell you what else she's done. So on June the 4th, a couple months after she's been arrested, she is charged with solicitation to escape from the prison. So her and this, she calls herself the Italian bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
She was, I'm sorry. So she had told another inmate that she had her family members put $75,000 into this account, and she was going to share it with this other inmate. if she helped her break out. Well, they just ended up telling on her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Letecia is not allowed out of her cell but like an hour a day, and she's separated from everybody else because she should be.
Mm-hmm.
She's went through several mental evaluations, and she has been found competent to stand trial. She will, the jury will be, they're going to pick a jury this week.
Mm-hmm.
So March the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking probably the 1st of April. And I'm going to follow it for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's been something.
Nuts. I mean, yeah, that's multiple directions and multiple states, so.
I mean, how did she, it just blows my mind how somebody can be so evil.
Yeah, and callous, yeah.
Yeah.
So his dad, I mean, anything else about his dad or his other siblings or anything?
Well, of course, he divorced her as soon as she was in jail.
Yeah.
I know her mother, Landon, she's got a lot of TikToks and stuff up, and she's really pushing for justice for him, of course. And his dad is as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna see what happens with this.
I mean, you really didn't go into much detail about what they found and her dropping him off in Florida. And you said that they had found him in a suitcase in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Any details about the condition of the body, or did they figure out how he died?
Oh yeah, that will come out in trial.
Yeah.
Everything right now is still under the integrity of the case, and until they go to trial, all these details.
So none of that's public right now.
Autopsy reports, I believe it was a gunshot wound.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some injury that was done to him before he left the house.
Yeah.
Because there is that video with him leaving the house with Letecia that morning. Why was all the blood there?
Mm-hmm.
Why was all the blood there if she didn't cause injury beforehand? And when he's walking out to the car in that video, he looks like he's struggling.
Yeah, yeah.
And it could have been the video that she took of him when she's kind of scolding him, not yelling, but getting on to him a little bit about the candle. She wasn't getting on to him really. She was being psycho because she was like, "We're gonna have to sell some of the furniture. We're gonna have to sell the couch." And he sounds terrified in the background.
Mm-hmm.
This was Sunday night. It sounds to me like this bitch was so eat up with jealousy for this kid and his relationship that he had with his father
Mm-hmm.
and his mother too. Just because he didn't live with his mother does not mean that she did not love him endlessly and deserve just as much grace as everybody else that loved him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been something that I wanted to say, for Landon, for his mother, because she has broke my heart watching her.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I'm really interested in updates, so I look forward to that.
Yeah, we'll do it.
All right. Thank you, baby.
Thank you.
This has been Walking Between Shadows. Again, I'm your host, Ben Elliott, and my wife, Taryn Elliott. Look for our next episodes coming soon, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.